Today we're going to talk about the best fly fishing gear for beginners, and I'm going to go over some of the best fly fishing tips and tricks for you when you're just starting out. We're starting right here, right now. But first, if you're not already subscribed, make sure you hit the subscribe button and tap that notification bell so you don't miss out on all my future uploads. I upload plenty of tips and tricks, I upload fly fishing videos, and I upload review videos. And if you want to support this channel monetarily, you can do that with a couple links down in the description below. If you click the one that says bonfire, you'll be able to find some cool fly fishing shirts that you'd enjoy. Today's video, we're going to talk a little bit about the gear that you need, the bare minimum, what you can barely get by with to start slaying fish. I'm going to show you some of the gear I have. I have plenty of old gear. I have gear that I still use and gear that I used to use that I want to bring to light today, and maybe you guys can get some use out of it. I'm also going to mention balling on a budget as far as fly fishing goes and what you just really don't need to start. Don't get me wrong, having lots of items are a luxury and it sounds great, but you don't really need a lot of things. We're going to mention fly rods, fly vests, waders and if you should get them. We're going to mention fly lines and where your money should go in the beginning so that you can get fully functional. Now I plan on making a full video on fly rods, but we are going to go into them right about now. This right here is a Cabela's RLS Plus. I bought this rod for $100. I think the reel is quoted at $200 by itself. It was a combo pack that Cabela's was doing for a while. I looked at the RLS Plus reel and it was really expensive. And if I remember, it was more expensive than when I bought the whole combo. But my point is you can find things like this. You don't even need to spend $100. My first fly rod, where are you? This guy right here, this is just the stem of the rod. I'm just showing the stems of the rod so I don't actually break a rod tip or something. But this is like a Silver Stream Walmart rod. This isn't even real cork, it's a foam handle. This was my first fly fishing rod, and let me just say that it was absolute garbage. But I would also like to say that this rod caught me tons of fish in the beginning. I think I got this whole combo for 25 bucks, 30 bucks at Cabela's. It hardly bends. It's just like super stiff. It would make a better self-defense weapon. But the point I'm trying to make is that this rod is and will always be effective. You don't really need to spend a lot of money when you first get into fly fishing, because let's be real, it's a ridiculously expensive sport. I mean, they have $500 reels by themselves, $2,000 rods, and that's not even the most expensive you can buy. But I got this rod to test it out. I was going with Jay a lot and I just wasn't overly invested. Now, it took me 2 years of fishing with this rod before I decided to get something better. This is a Cedar Canyon 5/6 weight. This was my second rod, and this one for me was free because it was a gift from Jay. I don't know how much this rod is, but it's a pretty awesome freaking rod, and it's a huge step up from the Walmart rod I had. But if you hear that, that's what a broken or bad reel. I didn't know there's a fly on the end of this. Bad day for me. Okay, bad day for me. I just stuck I had a fly in my foot, took it out, and then it got caught, and now it's, man. Whew. The Adams dry fly even catches people. Okay, I don't even know what just happened there. I don't know I don't even know what to say. I didn't realize there was a fly on there because I was tying it for a video. But yeah, I just stuck the heck out of myself, so don't do that. That's a pro tip. Don't stick yourself, because that wasn't barbless. I normally fish barbless, but that one didn't happen to be barbless. And it got pretty deep into my finger just now. Adams are savage. But anyways, this rod is freaking fantastic. I use it as a backup. If my flagship rod ever breaks, this is what I'll be rocking. Now this is the current rod I am using. This is what I would consider my rod for trout. It's a 9-foot 5-weight Cabela's rod, and it's freaking fantastic. It has such a pop to the cast. This thing has caught me so many fish. It's deadly accurate, and it was only $100. Now $100 seems like a lot until you start looking at those $2,000 rods with $500 reels. That's $2,500. You could get a cheap car for that. You don't need that. Although some of those rods would be super awesome to have, and eventually I will have a rod like that, even me, I'm a couple $100 invested when it comes to rods. Now this is a White River Classic 7.6. That means it's 7 feet tall and it's a 6 weight. I have used this rod one time and I loved it. I haven't used it enough to give you guys a solid review, but I am planning on doing a full-on review video on this rod. This is my new toy, and I noticed it casted freaking bass flies awesome. And for being only a 6 weight, that's fantastic. I bought an 8 weight once to use as my bass rod. I still have it. It's a Cabela's 8 weight combo. Another $100 from Cabela's. Awesome rod, but not best for bass fishing. I'd gear it more towards pike or steelhead. Put this thing away. Now I seriously want to say that you do not need to spend a ton of money to get a rod. The more money you spend, the more you'll like that rod. That's true. I didn't like my Walmart rod, but here's the point, and listen up because it's important. That rod caught me so many fish, and I had so much fun using it. Now I've never been a proponent of spending lots of money on hobbies. I try and do things, I try and always find a happy medium between affordable and good. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that you don't need to worry about what kind of rod you're getting. The important thing is that you start fishing. If it means buying a $35 fly rod, then that's what it means. But the benefit is so much better knowing that you're fishing. You'd be amazed with how much extra money you have when you're actually vested into a hobby, and how you can actually end up getting things once it's a legitimate hobby or a passion. When I got into fly fishing, I was seriously broke. That's why I got the $35 rod. I didn't have a vest. I didn't have a fly case, but I did have the right attitude to just get what I need, the bare minimum, and start fishing. Now we'll start talking about vests and satchels, which are what you put your fly cases in, which we'll talk about those in a minute. This was the first thing that I ever had to carry my gear around in, and it's a Allen, it's old, I can't even, it's an Allen fly satchel. It just loops over and then connects at the waist, and your flies go right here. If you look at some of my older videos, I'm wearing the satchel and I use it a lot. It's actually a great little thing, and sometimes I still want to use the satchel. If you want to see a video of me using that satchel and how it worked out for me, I'll link it in the description below. The satchel literally only has 5 pockets. The main pocket is meshed, and then the inside is a little water resistant, not proof, water resistant pouch. It's got these, I don't know if you'd consider these pockets or not, but you can put stuff in there also. And that thing's prime, it was fantastic, but it's starting to get a little old and I had to upgrade. By the way, thank you, Jay, for the satchel. After the satchel, I upgraded and I got a legitimate vest. Now, I got this vest for about 30 bucks on Amazon, and the thing is freaking awesome. It has room for tools, has a latch for a net, and it's got pockets for flies. At first, I didn't think having a vest would be as worth it as it actually was. I was coming from using a satchel and I was just kind of used to it. I thought having a vest would be weird, but it wasn't. Turns out the vest is really useful actually. It's something I probably wouldn't leave without. There's a pocket for everything when you go the vest route, which I think is phenomenal. I have tool pockets, I have pockets for my flies, I have the thing to hang the net from that we talked about. When you're fishing, it's no secret that your hands are busy. So having a vest that a net attaches to is a necessity. It just is. Speaking of nets, let's talk about nets and what you're looking for. But first, if you're getting value out of this video, smash that thumbs up. And if you have any questions about the gear I'm talking about, leave me a comment, I will answer them. So here's a net. There's a net. Nets are important. It's not like bass fishing where some people just pull them to shore. Trout are really delicate, so having a good net is a big deal. Having a net that is rubberized or smooth is what you want to look for. You don't want one of those cheap, rough nets that just tear up the fish. Trout secrete a mucus type thing. I know it sounds gross, but it's all over their body. And when you have real dry, scratchy nets, it takes that off. And that takes the trout, who's already been ripped out of the water, time to regenerate. Trout are really delicate creatures, actually. They get exhausted from one catch. They're not like bass where you can catch them, take a picture, have them out of water, and then just toss them in. You need to physically take time to revive the fish underwater. It's a good practice to never even bring the fish out of the water. But I plan on making a video about that down the road, so let's get back to the topic. You don't need a lot of money to buy a net. I've seen them go for 20 bucks that have the good rubber. Now you can get some of the good, like if you walk into Bass Pro or Cabela's, they have those like teak wood nets. Those things are freaking phenomenal. Real wide for bigger fish, but they're really pricey. You can find good nets on Amazon for a decent price. I'll probably drop a link in the description below. As far as fly boxes go, you don't need to go expensive either. I actually use this tin can that I got from a knife just like that one for pretty cheap. I put a lot of my daily flies in this box. They also make really cheap plastic boxes that aren't waterproof, but they're still pretty good. I mean, unless you fall in the water, you're never gonna really need a waterproof case. Although be careful because your waders might fill up. Anyways, we'll talk about waders in a minute. I've seen some really cool fly cases and I plan on buying some better ones, but the one I have is just clear and plastic. Again, you don't need to spend a lot of money on that. Now, as far as your actual flies go, I always try and buy the best ones I can. Like for instance, I have 4 fly shops in my area, and I would say the best tied flies are actually sold at Cabela's. You're gonna be paying for it though, which kind of sucks, but it'll help you out in the long run. One thing I've noticed about the Cabela's flies are that they don't break down as easy after catching fish. Now, I'm not against buying cheaper flies, I buy them all the time. But if I'm gonna go cheap, I'm gonna go cheap with a bigger fly, like a hopper's tied with foam, so cheap or not, it's gonna float. Fins and Feathers, a local fly shop to my area, has really good flies also. I normally always stop there on my way up to the river and talk to those guys for a little bit, ask them what's hitting, and then adjust what flies I need depending on what they say. Another thing you can do when you're just starting off to save money is just buy leaders. You don't need a bunch of tippets and stuff. For the first couple years I just bought a couple packs of leaders and tied on the leader the correct way, which if you don't know how to do that, I have a video on it. Go check it out. I'll link it in the description below. Tie the fly to the leader and you're good to go. The first couple feet of the leader anyways are pretty much tippet. So, however, if you do want to spend a little more money there, there's lots of good tippet brands you can experiment with. You don't need an expensive reel right out the gate, but the better the reel really helps. This Cedar Canyon wasn't bad in its time, but it gets just demolished by my RLS Plus reel. These older plastic reels tend to get sand in them easily, and as you know, being down at a river, that's something you don't really want to deal with. Fun fact about me, I may or may not have used this reel that is pretty much broken for another year after it broke because I'm kind of cheap. Maybe it can be a yo-yo now. Anyways, as far as waders go, they are not a necessity. I repeat that, not a necessity. Waders are great to have, don't get me wrong. They are gonna completely change your game for the better. But just starting out, you don't even know if this hobby's for you yet. Why would you go spend $300 on a pair of waders to possibly hang up, dry, and never use again? I've been fly fishing for over 10 years and I've never used waders. That's because I'm predominantly a dry fly fisherman and it's not really a necessity with the river I have. However, having the channel and wanting to go deeper and deeper into the hole of fly fishing, I'm gonna invest in an affordable pair of waders coming up soon. If I can make it 10 years without using waders, then so can you. One of the first big fish I caught, this is a fun story. One of the first big fish I caught was pre-runoff, and I decided to go waderless and go almost waist deep. That water was so cold, but you know what? I got it done. My toesies were frozen, but hey, it happens to the best of us. At least I didn't lose a toe or something, just saying. That should give you a pretty good concept of what to get in an affordable manner or how to prioritize where you want to spend your money when you're first getting into it. I did it super cheap. I started catching fish and now look at me. I'm slaying the fish. Except for right now because I'm shooting a video for you guys. Of course, I need to go fishing. If you have any questions about gear where I get my gear, anything like that, throw it in the comments below. If you have any questions about the RLS Plus I mentioned or the vest I have, throw it in the comments. I'll answer you as best I can, and I'll see you next time.